Hey everybody. So I get this question a lot and I want to explain this. Tasha, what do you do? Like, what do you do? And I know the question really is, how do you do everything that you do? Right? And it's my least favorite question because of this. What people are really trying to figure out is that how are you navigating life the way you're navigating, the way you're living out loud, the way you are just moving, right, with purpose, and you don't have no regular job. Like, that's the thing. Is you don't have no regular job. Like, let's get it straight. I have a husband, right? And I'm very blessed. And I have sacrificed a lot for him to be where he is, to provide a lifestyle for me that gives me the ability to live the way I choose to live at this moment in life. But I do have a job. Let's get that straight. I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a consultant. And what I have the opportunity to do as a business owner is I have the opportunity to master and move on, right? I have an opportunity to explore all the desires of my heart. And so that could be from when I started my career in fundraising. You know, I went to school, I have a degree. And let's go back even before then. So I was a collegiate athlete, a Division I collegiate athlete. I played basketball for VCU. And what people fail to realize is that you have to master a skill to get to that level. You have to master something. That means you have to commit yourself to something and you got to do it and you got to follow through. And that means you got to train, right? Every day, because I was a horrible athlete. Like, my brother was all state and, blah, blah, blah. That did not click with me. I'm like, okay, that don't had nothing to do with me. It wasn't until my best friend, who's 6'1", I am not, I'm 5'10". People think I'm taller. I'm probably 5'9", to be honest. They always padded an extra inch. And so one day she was going through her letters. I was like, oh, what's that? And she said, oh, these are scholarship offers. Now, we're on the same team and we're on the same path. And yes, she's quite a bit taller than me. She plays a different position. And I said to myself, it may be right, but this is what I said to myself. Well, hell, if she can do it, I know I can do it. And so that is what triggered me to be an athlete. And so, but then what I did is I saw the work that my brother put in. And so I emulated that, right? Achieved the goal. The goal was Division I scholarship, basketball scholarship. Did that, right? Till I got kicked off the team. Yes, I got kicked off the team. That's a whole other story, but we're not talking about that. But I kept a scholarship because I didn't do anything wrong. Then I said, okay, what's next? Finished school, got my degree, started working in public relations. And I'm like, oh, okay, I could do this, right? I thought I wanted to do human resources, but I really like interacting with people. And I thought human resources with interacting with people. No, it's not. And so I did that. And then running my mouth like I normally do, I got a job going to visit Freddie in Atlanta by meeting this guy on the plane named Ed. I said to myself, oh Lord, I hope this man don't talk to me forever, right? Because I know I'm a talk. And he looked like a talker. But of course, we talked all the way there. And then God would have it that we were on the same flight coming back, and we talked all the way back. And we exchanged information. This is before cell phones. Now, Ed had a cell phone, right? He had that big car thing you put over the thing. It was before cell phones. So you either had to give somebody your work number or your home number. And as I was leaving my job, getting ready to graduate college, I'm packed up, turned off the light, and my phone rings. And I'm like, who is calling me? Like, who is calling me? Ed was calling me. He said, homegirl, you got a job? And I was like, no. And he said, well, we won the contract with the Olympics. And if you want a job, I got a job for you. Yeah, that's how it went down. Fast forward, worked the Olympics, end up getting promoted, doing all sorts of stuff because something with a contract didn't work out. And I had the opportunity, I jumped on it. And then, when I'm leaving to come back to DC to get married, he said, homegirl, you got a job? And I'm like, no, I'm just, I'm just going. And he gave me another opportunity, which ended up being my career. And he said, I have this organization I want you to work for. And I said, but I don't know anything about that, Ed. And he said, but you can learn. And I said, oh yeah, I can learn, right? And that's what I did. I became a professional fundraiser. And we didn't have the internet the way we have the internet now. I actually had to go to free classes. I don't even know if this organization still exists, but it was called SOSA. And it was an institute that showed people how to raise money, write grants and stuff. So I learned that. And I went to the free classes. And then I got a job. And then I got another job. And then I got another job. And I ended up raising millions of dollars, right? And then because I realized I don't like working for people, I'm gonna start my own thing. And so what makes you brave enough to start your own thing? When you realize, hey, I can really do this for myself. And I can make just as much money using my same skills for somebody else for myself, right? And I'm like, okay. And then I have the freedom and the flexibility to do whatever I want and explore all parts of my imagination, right? And I have a really wild imagination. So I go into business for myself with one of my best friends. She's still my best friend. And at the time, she had spent a long time in our industry. And I was like, okay, but I said, I think you could do this. And she's like, well, I'm not gonna do it by myself, so I need you to do it with me. And I was like, bet, girl, let's go. And at the time, I had just had the twins, and my sister-in-law was living with me. My mom was living with me. You know, we bought a house together so that we all to live together and support each other. And so my sister-in-law go girl, I got you. And I was like, you sure? She's like, yeah, I'm living here free. I was like, okay, good, let's go. And so essentially what happened is my girlfriend who I was partnering up with, she said, okay, we made $3,000 the first year, y'all. And it was like, okay, we was hitting the ground, we was doing the work, we were doing, she said, but we did what we do in corporate and we went on a retreat, yep, just the two of us, and we hemmed up in a hotel in Winston-Salem, and we came up with a plan, and she said, we need to make $100,000 next year. And I was like, we just made 3. How are we gonna go to 100? So we came up with a plan. We wrote it down, right? And we were like, okay, these are our areas of expertise. This is what we're gonna do. You know, that next year we made over $150,000. Yes, you heard me, $150,000. Why? Because I run my mouth, right? And I say I stumbled into a contract. It was really God saying, okay, he needs your help. And if you're going to do this so that she can get what she needs, this is what we're going to do. And I took all the skills from all the things that I had learned in my other areas of professionalism, is because I was a professional beggar as a professional fundraiser. I was an event planner as a fundraiser. I did all these different things as a fundraiser that people don't realize. You network, you get to know people, you learn empathy, you understand how to ask for a gift, you understand how to face rejection. So you're doing all those things, but what you also become is super creative in how you go about establishing your goal, right? So what I learned to do was master and move on. Now I've already mentioned 3 different career paths for you. Get to this $150,000 in less than a year. And what was I doing? Wedding planning, of all things. And not only was I wedding planning and selling the venue for my customer, but I was doing the events. So I learned quickly that I could, upsell my clients to give them a service I knew they needed at a very affordable price. So that's what I did. And I was like, okay, this works. And so that helped me to generate $150,000 in less than a year. Now, was I working? Absolutely. But what was I doing also? Mastering a skill, right? Mastering sales, development, all the skills that I had learned in fundraising. And when the time came, I knew that if we wanted to generate more income, we were going to have to take over the facility. It didn't work out. I prayed about it. I said, Lord, this man crazy. He is asking for literally what we made, not only for ourselves. Okay, so let me just say this. The $150,000 is what we made for ourselves, not what I made for them. I made them over $300,000. So total in 1 year, I made $500,000. But I knew if I wanted to do the $500,000, I was going to have to take over the facility and really do it all myself because there were limitations working for other people. He said no. I said, you being greedy. And I decided to walk away. And that's what happened. So I said, okay, well, what's next? Then that's when I became an author. My last client at that facility was an illustrator. And her mama, because the way mamas talk about their babies, oh, my baby did this. Oh, you have to see her portfolio. I didn't want to see her portfolio. I just wanted to get this last wedding over with. Why? Because I had just done 62 weddings in a year. 62 weddings in 1 year. And so I said to myself, okay, just look at the baby portfolio. Mama opened up the portfolio. I looked at her. I said, okay, I know we're doing your wedding right now, but after this wedding, I'm gonna need to talk to you because I want to write a children's book. And she said to me, well, I've always wanted to be a children's book illustrator. Look at God, right? So I said to myself, okay, we're gonna do this. And it took us a year to get through that first project. It is still my best-selling book. It is in school systems, universities have picked it up. Look, I'm like, okay. So then I mastered another skill. And then one day someone comes to me and says, Tasha, hey, can you help me write my book? That's not what I do. Well, didn't you just do it for yourself? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they was like, well, you could do it for me too. So that's when I became a publishing coach, because I had mastered a skill and have since written probably about 10 books, but I've only published 6 books so far. My 7th book is coming out, and I literally was making money at it. Literally. I was making so much money that I didn't realize how much money I was selling making books. In 1 year, when I actually started keeping track of just the credit card processing, $40,000 in books by myself with no publisher, just selling books. And then years to come, people were saying, oh, I have $10,000 to spend on books. How many books can I get? As many as you want, right? So what did I do? I mastered another skill and I moved on. Master, move on. Took a photography class and started just posting my pictures online because I love to take pictures. Ask anybody who knows me, I am the record keeper of pictures. I have thousands and thousands of pictures. I upgrade storage just so I can put pictures and videos. I did that. I started posting pictures and my friends was like, oh, can you take our family photos? Now, you know I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, yes, of course. I said, you gonna pay me for that? I'm surprised what people pay me for. And I mastered that skill to the point where I get paid like ridiculous amounts of money to go like this, because I know what I'm doing and I master it, I move on. But I have done so many things. And now y'all trying to figure out, how is this child traveling the world, right? This travel could be very, very expensive if you don't know what to do. And so what did I learn to do? All the travel hacks. When should I travel? Because you know I set that goal 50 before 50. I was 48 and I said I'm going to visit 50 new places before I turn 50. And on my 50th birthday, I was in my 50th place. Madrid, Spain, Barcelona. And I did it, right? But then it's like, what you gonna do now? So I was like, oh, okay. I did it, right? But in the process of me taking those trips and living my best life and doing what I'm doing, how I do it, is that because I'm able to work and generate income on my own, right? I have have an exceptional ability to be frugal and not try to front, right? I don't try to front. I will tell you exactly how much I paid for something. My cheapest trip was to Cartagena, and we barely spent $1,000. My girlfriend was like, this it? I was like, this it. And she said, are you sure? I was like, yeah, this is it. This is all the receipts. I don't have no more receipts. Total hotel, airfare, being on the boat, going to the full day tour to Palenque and the volcanic ash, eating, $1,000. I think it was like $1,075 or something like that. And so I mastered another skill. And so when I tell you I'm going to go take a trip around the world, trust and believe I have mastered finding a deal. I just got back from Phoenix with my kids, and I call it my boot camp because I got to get used to traveling with them. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna do this for a whole year, 24/7 with your kids. Like, there's no breaks. Mommy can't run out. You know, I can't leave my babies by themselves in a foreign country, right? So I'm gonna have to figure it out. But I also got to figure out how to pay for it. And me being able to look at different airlines, knowing how to do Google Flights, researching things through Google, TripAdvisor, finding all the hacks, I have mastered a skill that people will pay me for and have offered to pay me for. So when you ask someone like me, what do you do? What you're really asking me is, how do you do? Right? And how you do something is you follow the desires that God gives you from your heart, right? Because, yeah, I come up with stuff, but I'm open. And I have done so much more that I don't even have time to tell you in this video, right? And how I got like my first design client, and all I do is like redo rooms in my house. And somebody's willing to pay me to redesign their house, really more than one person. I was like, you don't pay me to go shopping. Oh, okay. So I'm like, okay. But what you're really asking me is, how do you do what you do? I even had a girlfriend years ago and I was offended, but I get it now. She said, well, you don't have no job. Mm, okay. And everybody moved away from the table because I didn't say anything. I was like, oh, is that how you feel about me? Because what you're trying to figure out is, Tasha, how are you at the same place that I am in life? And it appears you're living even better than me, and you don't have no job. You have no job. But that doesn't mean I don't work. It doesn't mean that I haven't figured out the cheat code. And what the cheat code is, master it and move on. Some people stay in the same career their entire life. And you know who you are? There's a parable in Matthew where Jesus talks about the talents. And in another version, they call it the bag of gold. God gave you a talent and you buried it. And that's why you're able to stay at the same job in the same position and not be president of the company in 20 years because you buried your talents. Then he gave another person 2 talents and that person doubled it. And he gave another person 5 talents and that person doubled it, right? And so I am the 5 talents. Because what happens in the story, the person who buried their talent, God took it away from them and gave it to the person who had 10. So it says in that parable that not only did the master know what he was giving to each person, because the people had already proven themselves. The reason that I got the 5 talents is because God knows I'm going to be a good steward. And talents could represent money, or it could an ability, right? God gives you these abilities and God just wants to see them grow in you, right? It's like the fig tree. If you don't produce the fruit, God is going to cut you off. He's going to curse you. And he said, I'm hungry and you ain't got a piece of fruit on your tree. Die. I won't die, y'all. And hopefully you don't either. So don't be the person with the 1 talent. At least be the person with the 2 that doubles it to 4. And if you want to live in the abundance of life that God has for you, be the person with the 5 talents that you get 5 more talents plus a bonus. Because the bonus will pay for school. And the bonus will do a lot of other stuff for you that other things can't. And so what you have to be mindful is that, 1, you got to be a good steward. That means you got to take care of what you already have. Number 2, you cannot be afraid to take what God puts in your hand and make it grow. Not bury it in fallow ground and put the rock over the seed so it doesn't have a chance to sprout up. You bury it in good soil where you know you're going to get a return, right? And the best soil that you have, if you operate in boldness, is yourself. So you have to believe in yourself first. So you have to believe in your ability to master something. And then you have to believe that you can move on from that and then master something else. So when I start a new line of business, no, I never want to call it anything but your go-to girls, right? And my daughter was like, no, you need to rebrand that. And I was like, okay, 14-year-old me. But if you want to be blessed and you want to have more in your life, I need you to remember this. God gives you the desires of your heart. So you have this burning desire to do something and you just can't figure out how, right? God gives you that. He gives you the desires of your heart. So he gives you what you desire for. So he plants that seed in you to say, hey, I want to run a marathon, or I want to start a business, or I want to travel the world. God gives you that desire, right? He gives you the desire to want to do something. And then when you start moving on it, God also gives it to you. And that's a word. If you didn't catch it, let me say it again. God also gives it to you if you move in purpose. And if you are a good steward over the desire that he gives you, like the longing, the burning, like, oh, I know there's supposed to be more I'm supposed to do in life kind of thing. He gives you that desire, but then he also gives it to you, because he's not going to give you a vision without provision, right? Because he needs you to accomplish his goals. He needs you to work so that other people will be inspired by what he has given you and want to come into relationship with him. So, what do you do, Tasha? Anything I want to. Any desire that God puts in my heart, that's what I do. And so that's how you see me living. And that's how I'm going to continue to live as long as there's breath in my body. Y'all be blessed. I hope this has encouraged you. We'll figure it out sooner or later.